don't see her yet, but she speaks in about a half an hour. So
yeah, so that's fine. I was just going to introduce everybody involved tonight, but that's okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm excited for another Sips and Trips event. Clearly, France is a popular country because we have a good crowd here. I am Jen Campbell Bowles, owner of Explore More Family Travel, and Cari Phelps is my friend for a long time now. We've been around the world together, and so we started this collaboration called Sips and Trips, where she does kits through her business, Salacia Salts. And we've got Hannah Byrne here for talking about charcuterie tonight, and then we're also going to have Tiffany Taylor talking about art. So, Cari, actually, so Beth, for those of us who bought the charcuterie kit, Beth, drink water, or I think it's showing up as Elizabeth. She's going to give us the first step quickly. You have all the instructions printed out. You also have a video if you don't get it all done tonight. It's okay. But we're going to be doing our kits as when Hannah starts talking about charcuterie. So Beth's going to give us the first step. And if you have any questions, just go into the chat and direct message Beth with any questions that you might have. So go ahead.
Beth, drink water.
Yes.
Great name.
Thank you.
Okay.
Tonight I'm drinking wine.
Yeah.
Cheers.
I'm Cari, drink wine.
I'm drinking French wine.
Well, I own AR Workshop in Davidson, and those of you that have the charcuterie kit, if you will just open everything up, you have a container of stain, which is marked on the top, and paint. You're also going to take your brush. So just the stain. It is water-based, so if it happens to get on anything that it's not supposed to, soap and water will take it out, including your hands. Very lightly, because we are going to air dry this and try to complete it pretty quickly. So I am dipping my paintbrush in the cup and kind of scraping it off on the edge. Literally, we're just going to put a light coat of stain on the entire board. Now, I am not going to talk for very long for each of these steps. I'm going to let you do each step in the process while someone else is speaking. So typically, when we do a tray, because you'll lift it up, you want to stain the back. For this evening's purpose, in getting this to dry and not get all over your furniture and everything else, let's not do the back. You could stain the back at another time. So you are just going to cover all of your sides and the top. Then you're going to let it dry. This is going to take about 10 minutes. Uh-oh, I can't hear you, Jen.
That is because I muted it so I would not be loud getting my kid out. So that always happens, right, in a Zoom call. Okay, so Cari's going to introduce Hannah, and then Hannah's going to tell us more about what to do with our charcuterie boards when we're done with them.
First, I'm going to go ahead and introduce the kit that we made available. So every time we have a theme for the month, there'll be a kit that we're curating, and it's not a requirement for attending these in the future. But I have a couple of really great products. You can't really see them well right now, but we did an infused sugar and an infused salt for this kit. And so Hannah was using that along with that charcuterie board. That was part of the activity. So we'll always have 1 to 2 speakers. We'll have some sort of activity in our events. And there's also this kit that's available. The finishing salts are really great to rim a glass with if you wanted to spice up a drink or possibly add to some butter for a spread. You can also season vegetables. It's very versatile. And again, it's infused with lavender because we were talking about France this month. And then I love the sugar. I don't do a lot of sugar, but if I do, maybe like a half a teaspoon in a latte or a coffee or a tea. You can also sprinkle it into a cake batter or muffin mix. And it's great on fruit. So it just adds a little bit of herbs to your flavorings. And it's a really delicate, nice flavoring. We also did a shower steamer that provides some sense of relaxation in the shower. It's an aromatherapy steamer. And we also did a linen mist. So this month I was really busy creating products specifically for France, even though we're located in Savannah, Georgia. But this mist you spray right on your pillow and helps you with more comfortable sleep. And a deeper rest. And my husband said, well, what if you're allergic? I said, well, it's not going to help you then. I've never met anyone allergic to lavender, but it should give you a calmer night's sleep. And then we also feature a soy candle with artwork from Tiffany Taylor. This is a lavender candle, and this artwork was painted with her time in France. And then we also did a signed print of a lavender in Provence. And I believe that's it. So we had 2 different levels of that kit. So we're excited. Next week, we will be introducing the kit and the new theme for March. So now I'd like to introduce Hannah. Hannah's a friend of mine, and she's had a dream, I'll say, of launching this business or just a hobby. She is a very busy, not so typical female executive. I feel like she's running the world in the technology space for an international company. And so when dinner calls, charcuterie is her go-to. And I asked her why. And of course, it's because it's beautiful. But I didn't think about this, but she believes that it's great because she doesn't have to cook. So a lot of you have probably cooked a lot in this past year. So when time is tight and dinner calls, charcuterie is her go-to. So I believe that the magic starts for her, and the things she'll teach you tonight is just going into your pantry and finding those staples. She even gets edibles out of her backyard, but she is married to a fabulous gardener, so she has a lot of things to choose from back there. So tonight, Hannah is going to give us some tips on how to make an impressive, filling meal to satisfy everyone's taste buds. So Hannah, I thank you for coming on tonight. And y'all, if you have any questions along the way, please put them in the chat. We're going to field questions after her talk, and a lucky participant will be chosen for a complimentary consultation. So the next time you have a board, whether you're trying to impress your spouse or loved one, or you're trying to do something easy for maybe a small group of friends, she will give you a one-on-one presentation and food ideas. So chat away in the feature. Hannah?
Thanks, Cari. Can y'all hear me okay? The camera's kind of, can you hear me, Cari?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hey everyone, I'm Hannah Byrne, otherwise known as Honestly Hannah. We have so much cool stuff to cover tonight. You are gonna get your notebooks out and your wine. We are drinking here at the Byrne household a lovely rosé from the Côte-d'Or region. It's really great for a cheese board generally because it's a little bit of citrus in it, also with a little bit of berry note too. So it kind of cuts through some of the acid of the cheese board. We'll go over some of that later. We're going to talk about a little bit about the history of the charcuterie, like Cari mentioned. We're going to talk about some of my favorite tools, then some of the food items that we're going to put on the board tonight that y'all are making. Actually, I'm the proud recipient of my own already made board. Thank you very much for sending that. And then we're going to assemble, and then I'm going to show you some tips for filling in gaps or spaces on a board that might not quite work. And then Q&A. So let's get started. The charcuterie, I'm curious to know if any of you Googled this, because what it literally means translated in French is charred flesh, which stems from 15th century France. They didn't have butchers at the time. They were charcutiers, and they were responsible. My husband's laughing. It really is true. I work with a Frenchman. He confirmed this for me today. I'm not kidding. Charcutier, like a mouseketeer, only for pigs. And they were responsible for completely disassembling, butchering, and preserving the entire pig, every piece of the pig. And even still today in France, they still use every piece of the pig, from sausage to the pig's feet to ears to the head. So they cut the pig open, drain all the blood, and then the process of the charcuterie, the charcuteer's process, was to actually give a value add to the meat. So it would either be smoked or most likely salted, right? Which is where the curing comes from all of the hard salamis or the saucissons of France generally. So that's the origin from the base version. Today in modern France, they typically use a charcuterie either as a sort of a cheese board after dinner, which you probably already know that, but also as parties, platters for parties. They called it something before dinner was the translation. So just like we do. We use it for the meal a lot in our house, like Cari mentioned. And tonight we're going to talk about how you can do it, and hopefully we can do it in just under 10 minutes. So you can really see how quick and easy it is. Let's jump into the tools. I have this handy spinning Lazy Susan here to show you some of my favorite tools. And I'm going to try to hold them up so you can see a couple of them. So I have, over the years, assembled a variety of mismatched, misfit tools, spoons. This is an awesome little olive fork that I got years ago in New York. This is literally from a Hickory Farms box. This is how not fancy we are. And this I got on one of my travels many, many years ago. So I keep a drawer full of these just little pieces, for whenever we need just to throw something into a little mug or throw something into a cup to use it. So they don't have to match, which I'm a big fan of. And then I did buy, a couple years ago, I bought just a super simple cheese cutting kit. I think I actually got it at TJ Maxx or maybe Home Goods. And it came with a few little simple knives and a few buttons, these little cheese buttons, which are super popular these days. I'm going to show you how to use this later in terms of functional as well as looking good. I also have a really random mishmash collection of bowls that I always use on my boards. And sometimes I do huge boards, and tonight we're going to do a relatively small board because, it's COVID times and the only person I'm eating with is Brian. So I have lots of different little bowls to put things in. And not only do I have these bowls, but I can use other things that aren't just bowls. This is actually a sugar dish, handy, and looks good. And I can throw it in the dishwasher. These are my requirements for dining. I also have a couple of footed trays and footed bowls, which are nice to sort of give some tiered height to your board, assuming you're not moving it around the party, right? So sometimes you have to put that on at the very end and leave a space for that. We'll show you that tonight too. And then I also have this little cake plate. So that's some tips there. And then last but not least, Cari already mentioned this. She has these nice infused salts and sugars. We're going to use both of them tonight on the board. And then I use a lot of different herbs. Yes, I have a gardener in the family, but he doesn't always grow everything I need. Shocking. So I went and bought this little herb de Provence the other day to use for tonight, just to have it in the demo. So that's the gist of the tools. Let me make sure I didn't miss any tools. No. So I'm going to slide this out of the way, hopefully. Far, far away. Yes, great. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to grab the board that y'all sent me. Thank you so much. And I'm going to put it here. Can we see it? Yeah. Well, I need to work over here. I'm getting camera direction from Brian. And then I'm also going to slide this over, and I'm going to show you some prepping techniques while we do this, while we assemble. So this board is not food safe, which is fine because it looks amazing. And what we're going to do is we're going to make it food safe in advance. So I'm going to use, I got some, what are these, collard greens in my farm bag this week. And so I just rinsed them off, and I've been holding on to them for this purpose. So I want to show you a couple quick tips. So if you don't have kitchen scissors, like culinary kitchen scissors, totally worth their weight in gold. So we're just going to use this as the cover. You can use butcher paper. They make all kinds of really nice cheese papers, these like waxed papers these days as well. But this is what I had, so this is what we're using. And so I'm going to cover the gist of the board, just sort of mishmash, right? So that now it's food safe, I don't have to worry about it, and it looks cute. So while I do that, or after I do that, I should say, we're going to talk about the types of food we're going to put on the board tonight. I'm going to start with stuff for ideas, the things that I'm used just so I'm just, you know, because things I love are good for you to note down. This is my favorite cheese of all time. It's not French, it's actually Irish. It's Irish cheddar, and it's really hard. It's a really good, hard, salty, dry cheese. And actually I have a little sample of it tonight. We're going to put it on the board just to show you how to use even small pieces. But this is my favorite cheese. It's really great with honey on top of it. Super great with honey. And Brian is excited. We've made a shout out to Ireland. We're gonna use a nice Gruyere tonight, also a hard cheese. I usually try to do a hard and a soft if I can. But again, right, perfection is for suckers. Nobody cares if it's perfect or not. It just needs to get on the board so we can eat it. So I did buy a nice Gruyere. And then I also bought a little, those little baby goat cheese logs. I'm sure you've all seen these before and used them 9 times. And I rolled them in the herb de Provence that I got. Yes, decidedly an extra step. I get it. You can already buy them herbed, which really is the easiest. But tonight, just for y'all, I rolled it myself. So we have, those are the cheeses that we're going to use tonight. We also have just a super simple dry salami. Not super fancy. In France, the longer they dry, the harder they get, the more expensive they are, and the better they taste. But this is just a simple one I got at Fresh Market. And then we're also going to use my family's most favorite pate of all time from a real charcuterie. They've been in business for about 40 years, and they make lots of different types of pate. You can get them at Fresh Market, Whole Foods, sometimes Publix, depends. And this is a mousse truffé, so there's truffles in it. It's really creamy and smooth. Some pâtés are kind of chunky. This is super smooth. Carrie, if you need to interrupt me to give an update on the boards, just let me know. We're going to use some olives.
I just finished mine, so it's drying, so you have a few more minutes.
Okay, great. Thanks. So we have some olives and some other little tidbits as well. One other thing I'm going to show you just as a demo. These, are they in the shot? No, let me slide this over for 1 second. These are my all-time absolute favorite triple duty crisps. They come in all different amazing flavors, and here's why I love them so much. They have a fruit and a nut. They're salty and sweet and crispy and chewy. Like, they do everything. So if you don't have a lot of space on a big board, right, to add your 2 different types of crackers and a baguette and other things, these are the winning solution. And they just have just the right crisp and chewiness. They're fabulous. So tonight we're going to use the ginger ones, the ginger apricot ones. But if next time at your store, grab one of these, throw them in the pantry, they'll be ready to set to impress later. And because our board is a little small tonight, we're going to put the crisps in their own little boat and serve it as a side. Brian's like, give me one of those. Give me one of those. Okay. So I'm going to put those out of the way for a second. This is the board. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Trying to double duty it with the cameras here. All right. So let's start to assemble. Let's get to it. So I'm gonna start tonight with some height on this board, and actually might even need to rip a piece of this. I didn't over plan this tonight so that you could kind of see how it comes together organically, because really, you know, you can't really plan for this kind of thing, right? So I have this board on a slight incline so you can see it a little better, hopefully. So we're gonna start with this, and on this, we're gonna put some more edible garnish. These are, Brian tells me these are sorrel leaves, red sorrel, he says. They come from our backyard in a pot. They seem like they're easy to grow because he really hasn't done much to them, and there's a huge, beautiful pot full of them. So, so these are just a sample of the kind of edible things I asked him to grow for us so that we can put them on the board. So we're gonna put that there, and then I'm gonna show you what I do with the cheese. Should have sorted this out a little earlier. Let me get my wine out of the way. So typically, I pre-cut the cheese. So a lot of times you'll see a board that's sort of just got like a block of brie or a block of something on it. I've been doing cheese boards for a long time. And if you don't pre-cut the cheese, especially if you're having a party, people won't eat it. And then at the end of the night, you throw an entire board of cheese and leftover whatever out. So I always pre-chop it, if it's even if it's a soft cheese, if I have to. And then you can just sort of bounty it up a little bit. And the idea, the goal is to sort of give it some height and some layer so that it looks appetizing enough to sort of take one and not notice that one is missing. That's really the key, right? To have that bounty is better mentality, especially when you're working with a smaller board. You want to use the height that you have to go with it. So we're going to add a tiny bit of this. And then I've pre-opened the cheddar, the Gruyere. We're going to do the same thing with the Gruyere. We're going to pre-chop some Gruyere. And then we're going to leave some on the cheese button at the same time. So it doesn't have to all be chopped. So if somebody really plows through all your Gruyere with some of these amazing crisps, you can go back and add more, because the button piece, the cheese with the button, is also sort of another layer in the height that you're building on the board. So we're going to put this on here. We're going to cover that. And we're going to layer the cheese on top. I'm using my hands because only Brian's going to eat this layer. Normally I'd be a little more COVID safe. You can drizzle honey on this. I can't remember if I said that earlier, right? As well. And then I'm going to add the cheddar in the front. I'm actually going to turn this way so it's a little longer. There we go. And then see these little like extra spaces, there's lots of extra room you can put other food on here. You can put anything else that you might have that's small. Berries, nuts, even some smaller crackers if you wanted to sort of put them on there. So I always try to make it look full, and then you can also add it on the top. Bounty is better, tip number 1. Okay, next up is the pate. So I'm going to pop this out of here real quick. Are you laughing at me? Let's see, this should have. So here's the thing about the pate that's my only beef about using pate, assuming you like pate and you're not against pate making, is that it's kind of hard to get out of the container. So I usually try to get it ready so that it's kind of like a, it's kind of thick and jello-y. So I try to get it out in this nice little square, which doesn't always happen. Let's see if we can do it tonight. So it looks, legit. But if not, what did we say earlier? Perfection is for suckers. So we're just gonna toss it on there, right? And then we're going to put the goat cheese on. And I had tongs earlier, but I also don't have those right now. I'm gonna put the goat cheese here, and we're gonna go back to our tools kit and grab my favorite Hickory Farms knife, because we're fancy like that. And we're gonna slice that open so that Brian knows that he can dig in. And I'm gonna get another knife, which I'm missing. I'm gonna get another knife for the pate. Then I'm going to put some of the, I can't remember my glasses on. Which one's the sea salt? This is the salt. We're gonna put a little bit of the salt that Cari has on top of this pate. Just the littlest bit to give it a little bit of extra taste. Okay. Delish. Now we're going to also add, I didn't mention this earlier, so lots of French cuisine and salad niçoise and things like that have a hard-boiled egg in them. So I just had, we make them in our house a lot. There's usually 4 or 5 in the fridge at any given time. So I'm just going to slice this in quarters really gently. Boom. And I'm going to start to fill in here. Oh, this angle on this board is kind of steep. It might fall off. Let's put it there. And also, a little bit, just the littlest bit of sea salt on there. Okay, perfect. I have some olives pre-prepped. with my olive fork. This fork, if anybody ever knows where to, I got this in New York. It's like the only one I have. It's made of this nice olive wood or something. Oh, it's the best. If anybody knows where to get another one, let me know. So I'm going to put the fork in there. And again, trying to maximize some of the space on this board. I'm going to put that there. So what do we got left? Let's see. We got some space here, pretty decent space there. We got some space under here, and we have a little bit of space here. So now we're going to talk about pudding. So we can put a couple things, these things down. We can put a couple extra things on here. My favorite thing to do at the end of a board when you have these gaps is to throw whatever little tidbits I have, and then the last piece of work that I would put into it is what I call the zhuzh, which we'll get to in a minute. So I actually think that we should throw a little bit more of this sausage on there, or a little bit of this sausage on there, which I was thinking we weren't going to have enough room for, but we do. Same principle with the sausage as the cheese. You got to pre-cut it, just chop it really rough, especially, you know, because we're talking about a French board. Nothing's overly fancy in terms of what we would call some sort of peasant food, right? A little more simple.
I swear you read the book A Year in Provence, because like everything.
I did.
Yeah. Okay. I was about to say, like,
Like,
okay, you're saying peasant food. You're serving the same things he's talking about in the book. It's just.
oh, damn.
It's hilarious. We just had our meeting right before this about the book, and so this is very relevant.
Good. I'm so glad. Yeah, no, I went to France. Gosh, I've been a couple times. It's been a while since I was there. So it was, I mean, I've been to several different parts of France. And yeah, it's my favorite thing, right? It's just obviously French cuisine can be extremely fancy, but I'm not fancy at all. So I'm going to put a little bit of this. Brian just stole one. Put a little bit of this here. Right. Oh yeah, this incline is a little steep. Let me see if I can push this down here. There we go. That's a little better. Y'all still see it? Yeah. Okay. And then we got these other spaces. So there's some other ideas I just want to tell you about. I'm not going to do this tonight, but I got this cool orange marmalade. Again, Publix. It's the best orange marmalade ever. It's so good with a hard cheese. And then there's also, I have a really nice French fig jelly as well, which is also really good with manchego or cheddar or Gruyere. This would be nice too. So if you wanted, you could put like I could put a little small dish of jellies here, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put meringue because I love a board with some sugar on it. So I've got these little that are going to go here that most likely I will eat and Brian will not, to just give it a little oomph, right? And maybe one more to give it some more height. There we go. And some berries, raspberries, right? Framboise. I'm going to put in this little gap over here. So we have color, we have texture, we have height. Sorry, because it's tipped. There we go. There we go. And then I'm going to put some of Cari's sugar on top of those raspberries, just the littlest bit, to give it a little bit of oomph. Just a little taste of Provence. Ooh. Very nice. A little bit more. Ooh, this smells so good. So there's that.
You always make sure that there's some kind of protein, some kind of,
yeah.
I guess cheese can be a protein, right? And then
yeah, you know what?
The tart.
Yeah. Yep. Salty, sweet, protein, soft and hard, right? And crunchy. Gotta have crunchy. Gotta have those crisps in here. It's really important to have that. And then the last thing I promised to show you is my zhuzhing techniques. Even on a regular day, even on like a random Friday after I have worked 4 or 5, 10-hour days, I'm just like, oh, I don't care. I always add something little. Again, super simple, something that I either already have, right? Or an herb, rosemary. Sometimes we have rosemary in the garden. And just stick it on here just because it makes me feel a little extra special, like I did something fancy and it looks good. And it's just like eating off your china on a regular day, right? Why not? Life is short, like just eat off the china. So I put some stuff on the board just to kind of give it an extra little boom, and it really takes 2 seconds. You could use an orange, a lemon, a lime, something that had some flavor and some fragrance to it as well to put on the board. What'd you say, Steve?
Seasonal flowers.
Seasonal flowers. These are non-toxic violas from our garden, and they are also edible. So I'm told by the cameraman. So yeah, so just toss those on there. I think that's everything that I was going to show you tonight. I know I'm a little over, Cari.
You have some tips. I know that you have a YouTube channel, and I posted that in the
Thanks.
beginning of this feed, but Hannah will give you some tips on maybe some things you should store in your pantry, but a lot of those things you can see here, and they are shelf stable.
Yeah, I try to find
break
one.
here real quick for Beth to give the next instruction.
Please give the next instruction.
Yeah, and then you can give your tips. And then also, Hannah, first of all, your YouTube's going to be amazing because that was so entertaining. And I was saying in the chat, maybe if you could send me all the brands that you talked about and like exactly what you put on here, that would be fantastic, because then I could send out an email to everyone and give all of those, but also send the YouTube channel in an email tomorrow.
Definitely. Thank you.
All right, so real quick, let's spotlight Beth so she can give us our next instruction or direction.
Okay, so next step, please go ahead and feel your board with your hand. If it's not quite, I'm going to tilt the camera so you can see what I'm doing. So if it's not dry to the touch, just maybe I'll show you the next step and pause and wait to do it just in a couple of minutes. So you're going to take your stencil and flip it upside down. Give it a good press over the top of that paper. And then you're rolling the white paper off. So I'm going to hold with this hand the blue stencil, and I'm rolling back the white paper. And if the blue stencil lifts up on the white like that, roll it back, press over top of the white paper. Do not try to touch that stencil with your fingers because it will stick to your fingers and come out of place. So you're not pulling at it, you're pressing and rolling. And here I have a blue triangle, the inside of the A. I'm going to roll it back, press, and continue to roll off. So I'm going to speed up. I think you get the idea. I'm going to show you what to do next. Okay, so this is garbage. You are going to carefully turn the stencil over. Do not let it stick to itself. And you are going to line it up, the edge of the stencil, with the edge of your board. Once you have it in place, go from the center, press the air out, and you're going to press on it nice and hard. This you could do while we go back to Hannah and she gives the rest of her details. You're going to roll this tape off and press and seal that stencil down. So just like you rolled the paper off, you're going to roll the tape. Just make sure we don't have any air bubbles. All right, that's the next step. I will see you for the third step.
Thank you. We're going to have Jen ask a couple questions, and then we'll make sure that most of these questions are addressed in that follow-up email. If that's okay with everybody.
Yes. So
And Hannah, we need your cameraman to take a photo of you with your board.
Oh, okay, we will.
yeah, it's been
After.
requested. I'm trying. Oh, am I mute? No, I'm not mute. Good. All right. I'm having trouble.
Okay, I'll do it.
Oh no,
Is
no.
there a
I got it now. But you can go.
Is there a basic chart of what type of cheeses, meat, etc., that will make the board well-rounded, or will that be on that list that you send over?
There's
Is it
not.
hard or soft?
I can make a chart, but the goal here is to just, a hard and a soft is usually what I say. But we made one the other night. It was just hard cheese. So it's really just your preference. I can't stress enough. that the purpose here is just to use what you have. All right, and to think about things that you have that you wouldn't normally put on a board. So, but you can get really fancy with it. You can pair certain wines with certain pâtés and certain cheeses, and do flights like that. But really, the goal is to just be able to put it on the board as quick as possible and consume it. At least that's the goal in our house.
Well, I just need to have more of these things around. I think that's my big takeaway from this. Someone asked about olives and where to get better ones. Now, she is up here in North Carolina and you were in Savannah, but perhaps if you're giving an answer like Fresh Market or something like that, that's something that translates across the board.
Yeah, so since COVID, I usually use the olive bar at Whole Foods or at Fresh Market. But since COVID has happened, they pre-package the olives in stuff like this. You probably all have seen this already, right? So you don't get to really pick them, and they're not as fresh. I like a really, really fresh green olive that has a brighter color than these. They have a really nice buttery flavor and taste to them. They're so good. You can't get them anymore. I don't know why. I don't know what the difference is for them this prepackaged way, but I do usually get ones that are already in oil, and you can get them. It's called this something like Dalalo, right? They're already in oil and herbs, so that makes an extra flavor profile. Here's a pro tip for you though. I learned this years ago. You can throw these into like a little piece of tin foil and grate some lemon on it and stick it in the oven, or throw an herb in it or whatever you got. Stick it in the oven for a few minutes and warm it up. And then you add an extra level to your board because then you have something warm as well. They're so good.
That's more work. I don't know.
It is more work. Yes, we're trying not to turn the oven on at all.
So when COVID is over and we can pick from the bar at Whole Foods again, how do you pick a good olive? Because I have a house full of olive lovers. So tell me how to pick a good.
Yeah, right, they look pretty plump and not dried out. But for me, the difference, it really is a green olive. So I can tell you that in generally, the brighter the olive color, oops, there goes one. We'll just use this one. The brighter, the better. So this one's really, I don't know if y'all can see this. This one's really kind of manky looking. It's just kind of dull. And I'm sure it'll taste fine after I rolled it across the counter. I'm sure it'll taste fine. But the brighter the green, the better, the butterier they are.
Well, thank you so much, Hannah. Can you pick a number between 1 and 10 so we can choose a lucky one-on-one consult with you?
5.
Number 5 is Allison. Congrats, Allison. We'll connect you with Hannah.
Yay!
Okay,
I'm gonna join
about the type of pickles that I was just asking about.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't like olives, but I'd like to know if like some good pickles that could go on a board.
So I'm so glad I can't see your faces, but who asked that. But I am not a huge pickle fan either, but I'm glad you mentioned this because I was going to say this earlier. In France, typically there's small little like cornichon pickles and little pickled olives and onions, right? Almost always, especially when they serve it with a pork. So it's a huge French thing, but I'm not a pickle fan. In fact, my husband is a huge pickle aversion. He hates pickles. So there are no pickles in this house. I can't comment on pickles. But maybe someone else can.
Well, thank you so much. It was a joy, and I wish we could all come over right now.
Yeah, you guys can come help eat this. Make sure you click the subscribe button on my YouTube channel that Cari made me set up this week, because if I get more subscribers, it opens up more features and I can do more stuff. So please, please, please hit the subscribe button and follow my Instagram account at Honestly Hannah.
Thank you.
Cari's next venture is PR in addition to
Right. And everything else she does.
to her creative and Salacia. So watch out for her.
Okay, is Tiffany on?
I recommend pickled okra for the pickle.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's what I like with my little charcuterie things, is the pickled okra.
Nice.
I do see Tiffany. Great.
Yes, Tiffany is here. And so what I'll do is, while you're talking about how you know Tiffany, or you might have known her before, but I think you got to know her better, or you met her in Provence. And so I'm going to put up a little slideshow of Cari's trip when she went to the Lacoste.
Yes.
SCAD. They
So
have
Jen's
that.
going to be sharing some photos of my recent trip. And so you might see some other ideas that Hannah talked about and things that might be available in the markets. And everything we did over there seemed to be around some sort of charcuterie theme. Although I didn't really notice it when I was there, that's just how we ate the whole time. So I took a recent trip to France in 2019 and I visited Lyon, and I felt very adult because it was the first time I went out of the country for more than just one day meeting up with somebody. I was by myself and I felt very adult. And then I traveled to the beautiful city of Nice. And I would say that if I had to live anywhere besides Savannah, Georgia, I would choose that city. It's on the ocean, it's historic. There's so many beautiful buildings, there's food everywhere. And our next speaker, Tiffany Taylor, and I reconnected during this trip. So I actually attended a workshop from my alma mater, SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design, and they hosted an event or a 4-day weekend where we got to learn about art and got to listen to some amazing speakers. And we spent 4 days together in the provincial countryside in this beautiful preserved village of Lacoste. And this is where SCAD has a campus for students to study abroad. And they have an atelier program, which Tiffany knows a lot about and can share. There was a fashion exhibit. There was glorious and copious amounts of food, of course, served that charcuterie style. And then the great opportunity for us to connect and look at those boards. There's the olives. So they're so different than the ones that we get. And they do lots of seafoods. And we even went to a hosted like lunch at a restaurant, and it was all served that way, sort of that middle photo. So tonight is my privilege to introduce Tiffany Taylor. Tiffany, I've known longer than I can remember, and I can't even remember the first time that we met, but she is known for her rich textured paintings and original hand-painted pottery. Her Savannah gallery is filled with art, and I know I told you she'd be coming, showing us her art gallery at home, or her studio at home, but she's actually live from her gallery downtown on Bay Street. And so tonight, so her gallery is filled with art inspired by nature and her travels to France and to Italy. On her canvases, you'll see layers of antique sheet music, hand-painted recipe cards, or even ancient maps. And her style is super vibrant and lush. And it's a tribute to all things that your eye cannot see, which I think is lovely. And it speaks a lot to how Tiffany is as a person. She holds advanced degrees in painting and art history and an MFA in painting from SCAD. And she has also taught art and marketing in Paris in 2017. So that afforded her the opportunity to spend about 5 years between Savannah and France. I learned this tonight. Her work is shown in galleries international, including the Salvador Dali Museum. And she's also in the collection of Vogue's Andrew Leon Talley, designer Diane von Furstenberg, and also Oprah Winfrey. So that is pretty impressive, Tiffany. I will let Tiffany share more about her experience in France and her inspiration and a peek inside of her art gallery. Welcome, Tiffany, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Bonsoir, everyone. And Cari, thank you so much for the lovely introduction. I feel as if you and I have known each other forever, and I cannot pinpoint the exact moment that we met, but I feel like we've had all of these magical moments, including our time in Provence. And of course, now you make the beautiful candles for my gallery as well. And I also wanted to comment on that charcuterie board because it looked amazing. And I love the idea of functioning in abundance and also utilizing what we have. So, you know, as an artist, 5 years ago, President Paula Wallace of the university's Savannah College of Art and Design selected me as an ambassador for her endowment. And that meant that I lived for the summer in Lacoste, France, and had my own atelier, my own gallery. And for the summer, I painted, I sculpted. Pierre Cardin became one of my collectors, and I gained this international patronage. And so it was this life-changing summer of, I gained 25 pounds. There was a lot of cheese, a lot of rosé. And it was just a restorative, inspiring summer where, you know, there is a reason that people talk about the light of Provence. And, you know, I think the markets, just as Cari described them, the gentleness of France. There's just this gentleness to the light, to nature, the way of living. And it continues to inspire my art. Like I close my eyes and I'm in a sunflower field. I'm in the lavender fields. Currently, I am actually stewarding the endowment for President Wallace. So 2 years ago, she put me in charge of that program that I initially was an ambassador of in 2015. So now I get to connect our alumni with, honorariums, flights, accommodations, so that they get that life-changing summer in Provence. And, I was going to have this moment with you all from my home studio, but hopefully you can see why I had to come here. Like, there's the Eiffel Tower. So much of my art, I'll kind of flip you around, but is, inspired by Provence and by those years that I spent in Paris. But yes, if you want, Cari, let me know if you want me to give a little tour. I'm happy to, talk more about my art.
I think we want it all.
I'm sorry?
This is Jen. I think we want to see it all. We want to hear more about your time in France, but we also want to see your art and your studio. So maybe do one, and then we'll take a little pause for the charcuterie board, and then we do part 2.
Okay, perfect. Well, let's talk about Paris for a minute. Let's just go to Paris. So I think that sounds like a good plan. And then after the pause, I'll take you on a tour of my gallery. But Paris, having lived there, between there, Provence and Savannah over the last 5 years, just as a woman in Paris, I had my little Chiweenie, my rescue dog, little Papa. And we had this great shoebox sized apartment, but it was on Rue Saint-Jacques overlooking the Pantheon. And, just walking along the River Seine, being invited to teach art and marketing at ICART University, and having these 58 students that would then go on to work at Musée d'Orsay and the Louvre. It was just such a rewarding time. And, living in Paris, painting every day, going to museums, Musée Rodin, learning to speak French, just the friendships that I made there, like all of it is still with me. The $3 bottles of, like a great Bordeaux, like €3. It was amazing. But I think you'll see how my life there inspires my life here. And COVID has actually given me this chance to slow down and to be present in our beautiful city of Savannah. But I've had those memories of Provence, those memories of Paris that I frequently go to. And, it's just, it's been such an enriching part of my life to have those years in Paris and, dancing at the jazz club until I lost a shoe. And it's just so great. But here at the gallery, I think that you'll see the Louvre style paintings. My gallery, we're celebrating 10 years. And so I hope that if you do come to Savannah, that you can come and enjoy this little art sanctuary, because it's, to me, so much more than just a gallery. It's a sacred space of, holy conversations. But yes, that's a true story. I lost a shoe while dancing, and it was fabulous. Best night of my life.
Well, to be honest, I'm going to go ahead and give everybody a sneak peek into next month. Again, this is Jen. Sorry, I know you're the only one showing on the screen, but so next month we're actually going to feature the US of A, but our kit and our event is going to focus on Savannah and the Low Country, because that's a huge part of my story and Cari and my connection. And we're going to, visit Savannah through this event and some other hotels and such in the Low Country. So I think this is just such a beautiful way to connect this month to next month, and hopefully it will inspire people to make the short trip for those who aren't in Savannah, to come and visit your gallery as well.
That would be so great. And I saw a comment from Chris about asking me to tell everyone how many years I've painted. So I've been a full-time artist for 20 years, but I've painted and created since I was 18 months old. And Chris, who is with us tonight, came with her sister Karen, and they actually stayed in my apartment in Paris, and we painted watercolors together. So, I mean, it's just magical. Y'all will have to come to Provence once we're back there with the university.
Tell us a little bit about that place. I know that my husband had gone before. He also studied at SCAD, and you can see photos of it, but it's just amazing. And then it's probably how you met Perry Cardin, right?
Yes, it is. So I first went to Lacoste when I was an artist in residence. I never traveled until after I graduated college. So once I graduated and I sold my first large painting, I immediately bought myself a ticket to Paris. And then several years later, I reached out to President Wallace and asked to visit Lacoste, and she made me an artist in residence. And then 5 years ago, so I've experienced Lacoste as an alumna. And I mean, I just close my eyes and I'm there, and you have the energy of, you know, these medieval stones that compose the little Rue des Artistes, where along this little cobblestone road that goes up to the chateau of Pierre Cardin. And, you know, every summer Pierre Cardin hosts these beautiful like operas, and you'll have just like glittering jewels and candlelight and swallows overhead and music. It's a petite village. It's, you know, overlooking the Petit Luberon Valley, and across from La Castria-Bonnieu, another sweet little town that the students will walk there, and Maison Basse that President Wallace restored. You know, she's received the highest honors from French culture and the president for what she has restored in Lacoste. And, you know, again, the energy of the students, you're walking up the little Rue des Artistes, you have alumni in their caves creating art, alumni atelier program. You have Shop SCAD with alumni art. And then you have the students just kind of peeking out their windows and sketching, nestled in the stones, like fresh lavender. It's a magical dream place. And that's how we often describe it, is dream place.
It's interesting you used the word cave, but it really was like that. I felt like I was going into like a little Keebler house, and then it was like all these little crazy stairways and up and down in the rooms. And I've seen photos of what it was just rubble before, and now it's just magnificent. And every little space is this little pocket of just such rich history. And then of course SCAD does it in some modern twist. So then there's some amazing like art exhibit or fashion exhibit when I was there. So it's beautiful.
Honestly, as this is Jen again, as a person who grew up in Savannah, SCAD did the same thing for our historic downtown. I mean, I remember growing up and we never went downtown. I mean, it was like, no, we can't go down there. It's not safe. It's not, you know, it had become, you know, run down, and SCAD.
Just imagine if they could own the entire city, which they're not, they can't, but it's like that there.
What they've done. And I mean, because of what they've done, more people have come into the historic downtown area and done similar things, even with, so they've inspired so much. And so, yeah, I'm a big fan of everything that SCAD has done.
I'm so happy to hear that. I mean, Paula Wallace has changed my life for the better several times, you know, just by creating the university that dispels the myth of the starving artist. And I'm from Ogden, Utah, and I have these big dreams. And, you know, she's such a visionary. I definitely look up to her. And then changing so many of our lives as alumni, like what, you know, how many universities give their alumni, you know, a $5,000 honorarium and accommodations and flights, and another $5,000 for supplies. I mean,
Yeah.
she's just incredible. And she's the longest serving female president in US history.
Oh, wow, female president. I love
She's
it.
my shero. I love her so much.
So that's interesting. They have the atelier program. So how does that work? So there's artists in residence. Is it just over the summer?
Yes, so she actually endowed the Alumni Atelier, and what that means is, and we have an associate program as well. So what it means is we're building towards helping like hundreds of alumni with her endowment at all of our campuses. So I am currently stewarding that endowment, that program. So in Lacoste, here in Savannah, we have Forsyth House where our artists can come back and have an apartment and a studio. And then also in Atlanta. And, you know, it's just this incredible, if you look at the history of art, so many artists burn out for, you know, a multitude of reasons. So it's beautiful to see how she restores her alumni. You know, SCAD is family, like once a bee, always a bee.
Oh,
Do you know how the relationship between Lacoste and SCAD began? I mean, like, why did they choose that particular village?
That's such a great question because we're actually approaching the 20-year anniversary of SCAD Lacoste. And from what I understand, you know, she has a memoir, The Bee and the Acorn, and she describes, I believe they were gifted. It was, you know, an art school prior, and I believe SCAD was gifted the property, but it, you know, it was in ruins, and I mean, literally like little piles of stones, as Cari described. And you know, now it's state of the art where we have Wi-Fi in the streets, Wi-Fi in the caves, and you know, I'm glad Cari mentioned the fashion exhibitions because you'll have like world famous just exhibitions on the Rue des Artistes in these atelier caves that used to house animals in medieval times. You'll see like the old cistern. I mean, it's just the history there is incredible. And Lacoste has magic. It's attracted Pierre Cardin, the famous French designer who was a brilliant licensor. I spent a lot of time with him. He would come and visit my atelier, and he recently passed. But what a life, what a spirit. Like he lived the dream.
Well, would this be a good place to pause for Beth? Do you want to tell us the next step, and then we will do a tour with Tiffany? Looking for Beth.
Okay, sounds good. Oh, am I on?
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, Tiffany, you did such a nice job of painting a picture with just your words. So thank you. I'm excited to come visit you in Savannah and head back to France. Okay, next step, I've kind of started to demonstrate. You are going to open your white paint. So go ahead, you need your paint and this small sponge. The key here is a tiny, tiny bit of paint. So we're not going to do full coverage here. We're just going to, it's gonna like look like a dusting of snow, really. And then we're gonna let it dry and do, you know, a second and possibly a third coat. But what will happen if you put too much paint on at once, it will go outside the stencil and you will have a little bit of cleanup to do at the end. So the key is, again, teeny tiny bit of paint, like scrape off the edge of your sponge or your sponge on the edge of the cup. I will tilt this and literally just let it bounce. And you're just putting a little bit of paint. How does it? I think you get the idea. So I will pass it back to Jen, and you're going to do a couple of different coats.
Perfect. Thank you, Beth. I think I think I've got it. I've always been so intimidated by your projects, but I'm feeling confident.
You always do a great job.
I'm not good with my hands. Tiffany would be disappointed in my art for sure. Let's see.
I went to art school and I don't even think I'm great with the paintbrush.
All right, so Tiffany, we would love to see your works of art in your studio. I'm so excited.
Yes, absolutely. And I speak paint and business, so let's cross our fingers. I can show you with my phone. So here we go, everyone. We've got this. I think we're gonna figure this out. I'm feeling super proud. I just did. Yay! So I'm going to pretend that you're coming to visit, and this is what you would see. So you would come in the door, and this is our gallery. So I have some new Savannah pieces currently, but my French inspiration is all around. For example, with this large scale flower market. And this painting is one of my favorites. She was painted in Paris, and she's a flower market with stream of conscious poetry and butterflies. I'm really known for my poppies. They used to grow in Utah near Bear Lake, and I would go camping with my family and sketch them. So I paint them from memory. And you'll always see like scores of music that float through my work. And that's from my musical family. When I came to SCAD in 1998, there were not cell phones or, I think I had calling cards, but I dreamt of being in nature with my family, and I could see my grandmother's sheet music and I could hear her playing the piano. And so that dream guides so much of my work. These are 2 large-scale Marsh paintings. I am crazy and got a 3rd degree from SCAD. So these were completed as part of my MFA program. But I'm so grateful to have that 3rd and terminal degree. I also hand paint pottery. So you'll see just sweet little like magnolia sculptures. I have a lifestyle collection. So I have fabric, like pillows and blankets. We have prints. I think one of our most popular items are definitely our cutting boards. And this is like a sweet little bee and lavender cutting board that was inspired by a watercolor I painted in Provence. I do show that
your food's gone off your board. Your guests eat all the food and it still looks pretty.
Yes, and you can put them in the dishwasher. So I'm like, yes, put your cheese on them, wash them. A lot of people will just, utilize like little displays and almost have them like stained glass. These are fun because you can tote your wine in them, and they have a wine cork. So I'm a big fan of those.
That is fun.
Yeah, I just, I love functional art. And this gallery that I'm so blessed to have had a gallery in downtown Savannah for 10 years. And, it's just our little sanctuary. So it's a patchwork quilt of my life and my journeys. It's the poppies of my youth, the hydrangeas and cotton blossoms of Savannah, and Paris flower markets. This was a little flower market near my apartment on Rue Saint-Jacques near, Luxembourg Gardens. But it's just our little sanctuary, and I really hope that you all get to visit.
I love your lifestyle collection. I love that it's more than just what you can have on your wall, because that doesn't always work for everyone. So you can have art in your life in other ways.
Yes, functional art. I think, even after 2008, I feel that we've all become much more intentional about what we bring into our homes, and authenticity is palpable. And I think what we all crave is authenticity and charcuterie. Like basically, I think that's all to survive is
And I think-
charcuterie.
Yeah, and I think this is a nice reminder that when you do travel, think about maybe stepping foot into an art gallery. Don't be so afraid to think, oh, it's expensive and how am I going to get it home? Maybe that artist is also entrepreneurial in thought and can maybe bring their art to other types of mediums that are functional. And then it can be a momentum that you can live with in your day to day, or maybe hang an ornament on your tree. So you have something that's a little bit more special and unique while supporting an artist.
I'm so glad that you said that, Cari, because I mean, honestly, like we will have, so many people like, yes, who come in to buy a painting, but I love the connecting. I think that many times people come in that, they feel compelled to share their story, or, they feel that it's an art sanctuary. So I'm so glad. I think we should all encourage one another to visit places of art, because even if you're just going because your soul needs to be filled, that is so beautiful to the artist and owner. I'm telling you right now, like it's, not always about purchasing art. I think it's about the connection.
Very true. And just someone showing appreciation. That's all it is.
And that really
Yeah.
goes to any business owner, right? Like I'm not selling much travel right now. I mean, it is picking up, but just people being here tonight means so much to me because it's showing support without having to purchase. And so like it's just sharing the love of the same thing, and I love it. I love that.
It's all about like sisterhood and tribe.
And if we can just talk about travel, it just makes you a little bit more antsy about it, but.
I know. Oh my gosh, you all, like, I have to thank you for inviting me to speak. Like ever since Cari reached out to me, I mean, I've been part of my spirit's been in Provence. Like, so thank you for inviting me to share with you all tonight.
I also love, I mean, I love the scenes from France, but also my hometown and the Marsh. Like I grew up on the Marsh, like that was my backyard. So it brings me back, Yeah. So I guess I have a little presentation about just the different areas of France. So we could kind of go outside of Provence and Paris, but first, I'm not sure. I'm guessing Beth's going to tell us we should do just a couple more coats. But like, should we just keep going on with like another coat maybe? And then at the very end, you could tell us, is there only one more step after all this part's done?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so, well, I'm just gonna do another coat while, no, I'm not actually, because I'm talking. So other people can do another coat, and then I'm gonna share my screen, and I'm gonna do a quick little visual tour of the different regions in France, and then we will open it up for, you can tell us the next thing, and then we will open up for questions to Tiffany or Hannah.
And I love that Christina's wearing a beret.
Yes,
Nice.
I'm not surprised. Chris is my new best travel friend. Like I think she's been to more places than I have been.
You take my spot for your sisters. I can't wait to take this little trip with you around France, Jen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not quite the same as being there, but we do what we can, right? Okay, so this is where we dropped off after we did your tour of your trip. There are 13 regions, actually, like including Corsica, the island. There are 5 more overseas regions, but we're just not going to talk about those. We're just going to talk about the mainland, I guess, well, and Corsica. So we're going to start in the South because that's kind of the focus of our event because of Lacoste and because of our book that we read in the book club that met before this, A Year in Provence. And it's amazing how, I'm so glad we read that book because it really ties in so well to this event. But we'll start in Provence, Alpes, and Côte d'Azur. And I do not speak French, so forgive me for me butchering, and I am cringing, especially because I know Julia's on the call, and then of course Tiffany's lived there as well. So these are some of the views of Provence, and then down along the Mediterranean coast. I never went to Provence, which is this kind of like high up on my bucket list, but I have been to Nice and the Mediterranean coast and the little village of A's, I'm not sure how to say it, but I know Cari's been there as well. And this is Occitanie, and it is a land of sunny stone-built villages and citadels, and there are great hikes here and fascinating history. And this is the picture of the old bridge in Toulouse. And then the other place in the South is Corsica, which this has my name all over it. I've got something for clear turquoise waters. And this really reminds me too of, oh gosh, what's the island in Italy just south of this? Sardinia, I think it is. I haven't been there yet, but further south I have been. And so, yeah, it's something special about the Mediterranean. That's the part of the world that just really draws me in. And then we're going to now move a little bit north into eastern France, and this is Grande. It's kind of the more German Swiss feel in this part of France. It's a land of hills and mountains and plains, but it still has the castles, the vineyards, and the picturesque villages that you come to expect from France. And it is the home of champagne, so you know we've got to love the bubbles, right? Next we have Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes. It is one of the most varied regions in France. It is the land of volcanoes, of hot spas, but also Romanesque churches and good cheese. But I mean, so is most of France, right? There's stone-built villages, frozen in time, and is a region of two of France's most beautiful cities, Annecy and Lyon. And I know, Cari, you were in Lyon, not for long, but hopefully you're glad you stopped there. I loved seeing your photos when you were there.
It was an amazing place.
Yeah.
I was surprised that no one really talks about it. I learned about it from a teenager like 10 years ago. And I'm so glad we made the stop.
I was listening to an event with Julia recently, and she was talking about, Julia, you can unmute. What is the meal there that you said that you can't get anywhere else? It's like a seafood dish or something?
Yeah. Lyon has all kinds of different culinary specialties. Paul Bocuse started there, and he's really the father of French cuisine. But yeah, they have this one meal that's like a sort of fish souffle, but it's called a quenelle de brochet, and it's really good. But yeah, Lyon is really cool.
Very artsy too.
It's very diverse. They used to have silk merchants, and also the guys that started filmmaking, the Lumiere brothers, literally their name was Lumiere, their last name. They have like a museum of like miniatures or something.
Oh.
Does it have a lot of like tunnels under, like from the river down?
Passages, passages between houses and stuff. Yeah, the traboule.
Yeah, they were hidden doors, and I couldn't find any. They were so hidden, but they were in the area I was at. Apparently, they were everywhere, and I just couldn't find them, so they were hidden in plain sight. But
yeah, they just look like doors to homes, but what you don't realize is that they're passageways into like back courtyards and ways to get into buildings, because the buildings are all built on top of each other.
Yeah,
So,
I was a single female traveling by myself looking for these weird places, but that's how I roll.
Take a guided walking tour. Sorry.
All right, so this is Bourgogne-Franche-Comté. It is Comte, okay.
Yeah.
So it is the area that was formerly known as Burgundy, and it is famous for its Romanesque heritage, some of the best vineyards, and good food, but that includes snails. So I have never had snails, I must admit, but apparently they were delicious here. So I had to include a photo because this is something worth talking about, right? There are medieval castles, and then river tourism. It's got the largest network of inland waterways in France. And at the very end, I'm going to give you a little peek into those waterways. Okay. Britannia. I love that the name of this is Britannia because of the Celtic influence, because just look at this picture and it looks like Ireland. I mean, like travelers come here to connect with nature and culture through traditional festivals, crepes, and cider, which again, that makes me think of Ireland. So I love that there's that connection there. Let's see, this is Pays de la Loire. Oh gosh, I need to learn how to speak more languages.
La Loire, Pays de la Loire, Loire Valley.
Loire. Okay.
Loire.
Loire.
You got it. It's all good.
Okay. I'm telling you, I Googled all of this ahead of time and listened to the people talk, but some of them had a French accent, some of them had an American accent. So it was just like I was getting just like a whole bunch. You couldn't find just one place to find it all. And this is a region of chateau and vineyards, and Nantes is its capital, and it is actually we just discussed that in our book club because it's one of the villages. I think it is where we with a lot of markets. Of course, there are a lot of regions like that in France. Nouvelle-Aquitaine. It is the home of Bordeaux. And so this is a very popular region, especially for wine. We just did a wine tasting event with Jones Vondrell Winery in North Carolina on Tuesday night because they grow a lot of the Bordeaux grapes and their wines are very inspired from this area. It also contains some of the most beautiful castles in all of France and has 30 spa towns. It also has 20 Michelin star restaurants. So this is where the food is.
30 spa towns.
Mm-hmm.
Business trip.
Yeah, we definitely need to go here, Cari. just do a big old tour of France. Okay, so this is the Central de Loire. Loire. God, stop. Okay. So it gets its name from the river, which is the longest river in France, and it produces excellent wines and amazing regional food. And then it has 1 million bikers per year that visit this area. So visiting it by bike is probably the best way to explore it. And then if you follow me on social media, you would have seen me posting about the Dordogne region, which I believe is Julia's favorite part of France because it's less touristy than some of the other regions, and you can get a better feel of what it was a while ago, although all of France is pretty much inundated with tourists outside of COVID. And then we're going to go to the north. We have I have them out of order. No. I don't have my notes for this. I don't know what I was going to say about it, so sorry. And so we have north. Oh wait, I think that was just a double slide. I had already talked about it, so that's why I was confused. Okay, so Normandy. These two photos, we've got the Mont Saint Michel in twilight at dusk, which is gorgeous, and then the natural rock arch wonder in Normandy. Then we have Hauts-de-France, which is the region full of beautiful cathedrals, belfries, and citadels. It's the region of the Chanel beach resorts and relaxing seaside getaways. And last up is Ile-de-France, which is one of the most visited regions in France because it's the home of Paris. So of course it's going to have the most visitors. And now, as promised, I have I like to end with a little bit of a, I don't know, an inspiration for future travel. I'm so intrigued by barge trips in France. and it's basically a floating villa. So everything's taken care of for you, and you get to just float and relax and see France by the water, and it just looks amazing. So a quick 30-second video for you. Yeah, and I mean, I really think those are pretty reasonable considering how much you get, and you can fit up to like, I think 12 to 14 people on one. So,
You
but
said
yeah,
floating villa. I mean,
I know.
2 words. Amazing.
And then like some of the companies, they'll just like have a van follow the boat up the river, and then like you get off, and then they just shuttle you around to whatever you want to do and see, and just like, wow, yeah, that is one of my bucket list items for sure. I'm going to write an article about it on my blog in the coming months. Once we get the flow of this going, you know, this is month 2. And so it's every month it's like, oh yeah, I need to do that. So I'm like working out my workflows and everything. But yeah, I love writing as well. So I'm looking forward to doing more of that and inspiring more people through these events. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen now. And let's chat. Anybody have any questions or want to say anything, any feedback? Like, I'm just really grateful for everyone showing up tonight.
I think it was great, Jen. Thanks for putting this all together.
Absolutely. Thank you as well for your beautiful kits and for just being my partner in all of this. For all your amazing friends, like, you know, some really neat people.
Tiffany and Hannah are awesome. Thank you both for being a part of our call and presentation. And we don't normally have these, well, we haven't, this is our second month or third month really. So we did one at 11 o'clock on a Sunday, and we've done one at 8 o'clock on a Thursday, but who's doing anything anyway? So we thought tonight would encourage you to have a drink and do some crafts, maybe put your kids to bed or just unwind at the end of the night. So
yeah, that's why it works for me. Like 8 o'clock is their bedtime. So like, I ran upstairs and sang them their lullaby and then came back downstairs.
Oh, that's sweet. You really do that?
Yeah, we still do that.
Oh,
yeah.
That's sweet.
It's like a requirement. Like I can't, like, there's just like no going to bed without the song being sung. But I used to have to sing the exact same song in 2 different beds, and they just got the bunk beds, and they have the same, they're sharing the double on the bottom until one of them's ready to go to the top, because they'd always end up in the same bed anyway. So I used to have to sing it twice, but now at least I only sing the same song once. So now I get to sing 2 different songs. You
should sing it in French.
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah, I'm really good at that.
I see Gardner Byrne's making an appearance. Do you have some insight for us, Mr. Gardner Byrne?
Oh God, Cari.
Me no speak English.
When we go to Ireland, we can have a guest speaker of Gardner Byrne.
And there we go.
Oh yeah, we have so many connections in our real. So
I want y'all to see what Gardner Byrne did to demolish this cheese ball.
What?
I want Gardner Byrne to meet my husband, because my husband loves to grow plants and such. And so, but it seems that there's more success in that garden than ours. So I think it would be a good meeting of the minds.
So
growing food you can eat, and it doesn't have to be like collard greens. It could be like edible flowers.
Yes. So there's lots. There's you can grow any vegetable you want in containers, and a lot of salad greens, like, you know, like the red vein sorrel, and you know, even the stuff like bok choy, red sales, green sales, a lot of lettuces, and a lot of tomatoes, and even squashes in containers on your patio. So it's not limited just to a vegetable garden, but today, if any of your husbands are hunters or they're involved in a hunting club, or they go, they ask to shoot deer, it's getting out of season right now. But today, I had, for the first time,
Sorry, keep going.
I had deer heart. And I know it sounds very gross to a lot of people,
Heart?
but it is Cari, don't squint your face now, Cari. I see you. It is amazing. And I pulled the face like Cari just did. And I said, not so much. But today I had it, and it was actually amazing. So there's a lot of new things coming on. You're going to see them, and they're new trends. They're going to start hitting restaurants.
Trends like the cauliflower steak.
Deer hearts. I'm not going to say sweetbreads or offals, but there's a lot of new things coming your way because of COVID, because of people are looking at different things, and especially if you're a hunter or you're into alternative meats, let's just say, there's a lot of new things coming. But gardening wise, I'm getting back to gardening. You can, there's lots of stuff, right? So we're coming to spring now. We're kicking in spring in Savannah. So in about another couple of weeks, people are going to start growing their tomatoes, their squashes, aubergines, very French.
I mean, eggplant.
Eggplants to us.
Aubergine. That's an artist color, I believe. I'm starting to talk Tiffany's language.
Cherry tomatoes, grape tomatoes, you name it, it's coming.
This is why you can't ask an Irishman a question, Cari.
Can I ask the Irishman a question? The deer hearts, how did you cook it?
Not be a kind of niche.
How did you cook the deer heart? I just had beef heart not long ago for the first time.
Cari B, you're on mute.
Oh, I thought I took it off. Can you hear me now?
Nope.
She's not on mute. I can hear her.
Oh.
Weird. I could hear you, Cari.
Okay.
But Brian couldn't. How do you cook a
Well,
beef heart?
if they can hear you, maybe you could relay the question. I want to know how he prepared the deer heart, because I made beef heart recently, stewed.
So what we do, so I work for Palmetto Bluff, actually Montage Palmetto Bluff in Bluffton, South Carolina.
Okay, we have to have a whole conversation about that, because I've been trying to get in touch with them about my event next month, because they're a property that I work with. And were you just there or something? Or you were supposed to go?
I was scheduled to be there this week. Like I just commented that. But I backed out because I have too much other stuff going on, and I'm going to Vail this weekend. But that's super cool.
I've been I wrote them this week about helping me with next month's virtual event. So okay, that's offline. We'll talk about that.
Let's just do the whole Savannah thing, and Cari and Hannah will understand this. Anybody that's in Savannah understands this. Who are you talking to in Palmetto Bluff? We can take it offline if you want to.
Yeah. I have
Let's
the email.
talk about some more heart.
The hard question. Okay, so so the conservatory out there, we have what's called a nuisance permit, and deer are, anybody that knows a deer, you can't control deer. So I'm going to get to that. Hannah's pushing me on, my producer's pushing me on. So get to the cut to the chase, yeah. So we harvest a lot of deer, and it's bucks and does right through the year. So what we do is when we process the deer, we give the meat to charity. We get it processed, and it's usually made either in cubes or it's ground up, and it's sent to any charities in South Carolina that can feed the hungry or feed churches and so forth. But the heart is an absolutely amazing piece of protein. And
how did you prepare the heart?
I'm getting there.
Did you see how
Irish people
this is my life?
Irish people
It's the heart of the story.
You have to tell the story. You can't get to the point.
Look, it is my bedtime.
I know, yeah. Trust me, I could have been 5. So what we did was we took about 6 hearts, fresh hearts, and we diced it up. Sometimes we can cut it in medallions, but today we cut it in cubes. It's sort of a cube, like a cube steak type thing. And then we just, sometimes we use a mixed dry rub. We throw it in a grill or on a hot plate, and we fry it up. And that's it. Today we used a barbecue that was given to us. It was a blueberry barbecue sauce, and it was amazing. So
Really? So just a grill and barbecue sauce?
yes, ma'am.
Did
Wow.
it, did the
All
did
right.
the barbecue sauce make it less gamey tasting?
So the thing about the heart is that it's not very gamey. I've eaten a
No,
lot
the
of,
beef heart tasted like beef stew.
right, exactly. And I've had beef. I've raised cattle. I raised black baldies and Herefords for a couple of years, and when we ate the heart, it wasn't gamey, obviously, because we knew what we were feeding them. But the deer, you know, we can't control what they're eating. So what we do is it's a shooting match, but it's the way you cook it. If it's fresh, it's amazing. If it's a day, it's straight into a cooler. It's all regulated. So we use it usually if we shoot a deer that day, or we shoot a deer at least 2 days. That heart's going to be eaten within 2 to 3 days.
Is it going to be on the menu at the 5-star
No,
restaurant?
it's not. And I'll tell you why. And I have to be very legal about this because this is very
Oh,
detailed. Anything that we harvest, and we use the word harvest very strongly, we cannot use it for wholesale or retail.
so we can come up for a complimentary tasting on the
Yes,
field.
that I can do. I can organize.
Okay, let's do that.
That's-
Sounds like a wonderful travel experience. Well, thank you, Gardener Byrne.
Yeah,
We also want to pour a
this
report
is definitely
card.
not the way I thought we'd be wrapping up. I love virtual lunch. You never know what's going to happen. But you know, it's funny because when we were talking about the book earlier, we were talking about like all the foods in the book that I was just kind of surprised at. I don't know, like I've never been, I don't know as much about French food as I do.
Yeah, and how Hannah opened it up with, this is a plate of burned meats.
Hard flesh.
Yeah, burnt flesh. We end with deer heart. I love it. And we can make it pretty. We've got some Tiffany, we have a beautiful board. We've got the AR workshop board. We've got some artwork in the background.
Well, I think Tiffany dropped off because she just wrote. So I was going to ask Beth what the next step is. Is it to peel off? And then from there we would just be screwing in our little handles to the cheese board.
Yes, so the crucial detail to remember is that we are going to pull the stencil against the grain. So you're pulling it either from top to bottom or bottom to top. You are not going side to side. So that will pull the grain of the wood up. So you're just pulling it back. If the stencil rips or tears, it's okay, it's done its job. So you're just removing that, and then you will have little pieces left on the inside of the letters. And what you will do, there is a toothpick attached to the written instructions, and you are just going to use that toothpick to lift the middle pieces. And then, yes, you will just take a screwdriver, and there are pre-drilled holes. You're going to take the screws and use a screwdriver and just screw them into your board. So it's that simple. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My email address is davidson@arworkshop.com. And thank you so much for having me. And this has been wonderful. It's like a little escape here, and I cannot wait to start planning with Jen.
Yes, I can't wait to plan another trip for you guys. Hawaii and Sweden coming up next.
Yay!
Yay, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone else. I mean, I feel like we haven't had that many chances to ask questions, but it's also getting late. So if you have one, ask it real quick. Otherwise, we'll sign off. And of course, you can always email me with any questions that you have. All right. Well, thanks to everyone for being here and making this a successful event. And we're looking forward to seeing you next month. I think we're going to do it on the very last Wednesday of March to give ourselves plenty of time to recoup from this event, and also plenty of time to get it together and not to be rushing. It's February, such a short month. We wanted to give ourselves plenty of time. So we're looking forward to bringing you Taste of the, are we going with Taste of the South or Taste of the Low Country? Okay, Taste of the South.
I've got some ideas that aren't in the Low Country. I think
Okay.
we're gonna have a mixologist.
Very
But
cool.
I didn't say that. Don't quote me. But I think we've got a mixologist.
Yeah, so we're still working out all the details. And for those who want to be part of the book club, we're reading Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, which
Oh,
takes place
wow.
in Savannah. I've read it decades ago, but it's time to reread it. Yeah, I'll also be doing some web chats during the month for other destinations across the US. And next Thursday, I have one for luxury dude ranches out west. So you can find that on my website. But also I'll be sending out in the newsletter next week. So anyway, it's Thursday at 5. And thank you
Thanks,
all.
everyone.
Thank you all for being
Thank you
here.
so much.
Really appreciate it.
Bonsoir.
Bye.
Bonsoir. Bye.
Bonsoir.